What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another House of the Dragon breakdown. Today we're talking about episode 2 of season 2, titled Rhaenyra the Cruel. Oh, this show is so good! Oh, let's talk about it, man. So we're coming off of that last episode. Mr. Blood, Mr. Cheese took young Prince Jaehaerys, Aegon's youngest heir to the throne, Aegon II. There's so many numbers and names, and it gets confusing, so don't feel bad about getting confused with the names. It just is what it is. But we got Helaena here, Aegon's sister wife, and she is very upset because she is one of the people that chose to have this boy killed. Oh gosh, she's not like innocent. Well, she is, but she's not like completely, right? Like she's a little bit guilty for that, you know? Like she's kind of a little bit involved. Like, and if she didn't point and tell them which, she probably would have died herself and the other child. But it's still kind of fucked, either situation, any type of way you look at it. But this episode, obviously, coming off of that boy killing, obviously the intro happens, the weaving of the tapestries. I didn't see any updates with that. Like they didn't add the beheading by blood and cheese into the intro. So I wonder if that intro will just be this whole season's intro, not like the first season where the intro updated every episode. I'm curious. Maybe they ran out of time and they're not doing it every episode. Maybe they'll do it next episode. Who knows? But no updates to that as far as I can see. But we cut to the Red Keep, and a maid is carrying bloody clothes in the aftermath of what happened with blood and cheese in that last episode. And we see the help finding the body. And we cut to Aegon the King smashing King Viserys's, like, the whole model and thing that we saw him always tinkering and making in his king chambers all of last season. Aegon just starts breaking and beating this model. I was like, no, the hours, the work that your father put into this, and you're just destroying it because your son died? I get it, you're upset, but come on, man, what's good with that? You can't just destroy Viserys's model. Killed me. But Aemond, we also see walk through. Aemond One Eye walks through the room and sees what happens, sees one of Maegor's tunnels hidden in the wall, and he's kind of like figuring out what happened here. Then we cut to Otto talking to Queen Alicent, and then we cut to Aegon addressing some members of the small council, and he gets told that they found the gold cloak with a head in a bag. And you're like, okay, so they found blood? Oh boy. And Otto suggests dragging Son's body through the streets, in like doing a funeral procession through the streets, and Aegon's like, you want to drag my son through the streets? I won't have it. And he goes, no, what we do is we blame Rhaenyra for this and drag it through the streets and show the queen and the queen, Alicent and Queen Helaena, show the queens mourning through the streets, and the people will grieve with you. And it's so fucked, but you're like, man, Otto really playing the hell out of this Game of Thrones. Like, he plays the game, man, and Otto knows what's up. So of course, because what Otto said, they have the funeral procession. Helaena doesn't want to go either, but they drag little son Jaehaerys' body through the streets on this casket drawn by horseback, and it's really terrible. They stitch the head back onto the body, so you see just little stitch marks on his neck, and I'm like, oh my god, this show, how dark and fucked up can this show really get? It can get worse, I promise. But then we cut to Sir Larys Strong, I believe, Mr. Cleftfoot, kind of like the Littlefinger of House of the Dragon. Littlefinger being from Game of Thrones, of course. So we cut to Larys Strong interrogating Blood, and as soon as he like opens up his little thing, he's got like these tools. They didn't even show us how he interrogates people, but this gold cloak of Blood that we met last episode clearly knows Sir Larys's, or not Sir, he's not a knight, but Larys Strong's interrogation tactics, clearly, because he does not want any part of that, and he spills all of the beans immediately, just rats everything out and just tells them everything they want to know. And you're like, yeah, you pussy, you couldn't have fucking held Daemon's back a little bit and I won't tell you and just die on your sword? Like, you're gonna die anyways, probably. Why lie, or why spill all the beans and die? Like, might as well hold the lies and, you know, not tell anything and then die. You know, that's the way I would be, at least. Maybe. I don't know. I've never been tortured the way that this man was about to be. But as they're showing this, like, man spilling the beans, they're cutting back and forth from the funeral procession and that. The funeral procession gets stuck. And it's like, oh, fuck, I can't believe they get struck. Helena starts to freak out a little bit. She's uncomfortable. And her mother are there. And it's just, oh, it's terrible. They're, like, tossing down things on them. It's terrible that Otto's not there and Aegon, right? They're just making the women parade through the streets with all the normals. Like, oof, it's kind of really tough for her, like, to even think about it like this. Like, it's like, ugh. As the funeral procession's going around, the men are going, "Behold the works of Queen Rhaenyra the cruel. Queen Rhaenyra is responsible for this. She cuts off kids' heads," right? And, like, Rhaenyra really had no part in this, really, you know? Like, it's all Daemon, but like, Daemon clearly fucked this up, you know, and it wasn't Aemond like he wanted, and they just got a son for a son, which is terrible, and we don't really know if that's what Daemon said or not, and we'll talk more about that later in this episode. But we cut to Aegon, and he, I believe, beats Blood to death. We don't see him die, but we do see him start to beat him, and he's got like a mace or like a club or something, and you're like, ooh, I would love to do that. If somebody murdered my child, even my dog, if somebody murdered Bodie Boy, I would do terrible things to whoever would do such a thing. You know what I mean? Like, this cute little dog, a little child, you're gonna murder in cold blood, cut off his head? I wouldn't just cut off his head. I'd cut off every other thing, you know, first. I'd cut off his feet, his toes, his fingers, his cock, you know. I'd cut it all off and just let this motherfucker suffer. Wouldn't let him die. Would keep giving him, like, morphine or, like, adrenaline to keep him going. You know, like, no, you're not allowed to die yet. You know, like, terrible. Queen Helena, though, that poor girl, because she's like a dreamer, and this whole thing, she's like terribly uncomfortable. She doesn't want to be there with her mother, but she kind of has to be, and they're making her go with her son through the streets. Like, so now she has to see the beheaded body sewn back together and paraded in front of her. Like, that poor woman. I really hope she gets a moment to, like, really show how strong her dreams are, or show her on Dragonback fucking up some people, you know. Like, I really want to see Queen Helena in a different light. But we cut back to Dragonstone, and they're telling Rhaenyra what happened, and she's getting the news about the boy, and she's like, "You think I would do this? There's no way." And they're going around the small council room, and they're all talking, but there's one person being awfully quiet. And it's funny as hell, because the camera goes around the room and everyone's talking, and Queen, well, you're the other side. Even if you didn't, they're saying you did. And she's like, "I would never. You think I would do this?" She has to defend herself against her own small council, because her own small council thinks she did it. And Rhaenys is looking at one person, and Rhaenys is like, "I know who it is." And she goes all the way around the whole room, and then we cut to a shot of Daemon Targaryen. He kind of gives this, like, side-eye little look, kind of like that meme, that little side-eye meme, you know what I'm talking about? But, you know, Daemon the whole time is sitting just awfully quiet in this room, and he normally has more to say, and it's clearly him. Rhaenyra takes one look at him and knows it's him. But I have this clip from the show of this conversation. I really want to play this, because this is probably my favorite part from this episode. Just how good that, I believe her name is Emma Darcy and Matt Smith, do acting in this role as Daemon Targaryen and Rhaenyra Targaryen. They're so good in this scene. So let's play this.
Murder children in their beds.
I sent the Queen's vengeance for her son.
What did you tell this vengeance? What did you say to him?
Daemon, that a boy lies dead and I am accused of killing
Miss Arya provided me with names and a subterfuge. I was clear in my instructions. Aemond, the brother of Aegon the Usurper. I cannot be responsible for a mistake.
Cannot be responsible. If Aemond was not to be found.
What were your instructions then?
They did not concern in any way that of a little child.
You said that it was your aim to spill Hightower blood. And if not Aemond, then anyone would do.
No.
You have wounded me. Weakened my claim to the throne, my ability to raise an army, my standing among my own council.
I said no.
I don't believe you.
Oh, she knows it too. Like, he lies right to her face, and he goes, "I told you no," and she instantly just goes, "I don't believe you. I don't believe you." Right? Like, but let's play the rest of this clip, because Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra is so good in this, but Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen has shown time and time again why he's my favorite character in this show. But let's keep going.
So we come to it at long last. I cannot trust you, Daemon. I've never trusted you wholly, much though I wished to, willed myself to. But now I have seen that your heart belongs only to you. And when I was a child, I took this as a challenge, but I'm older now. I have challenges enough.
I have served you faithfully.
Have you? Or have you used me as a tool with which to grasp at your stolen inheritance?
When Sir Eric brought you the crown, did I myself not place it upon your brow?
Yes, but before that, you sought to lead a council of war while I laboured alone in my bedchamber. And afterward, when I thought it meet to consider the terms
folly,
our
a
oath
folly.
were before us.
To give up my brother's throne to the traitorous lies upon her
My
high tower.
throne, Daemon! Mine! I think you used my words as an excuse to take your own revenge.
It's so good. So good. He gets up, he slaps one thing one way, slaps the other thing the other way, and he like gets up, he wants to hit her, and he's like, but he grabs her just so tenderly, and he's like, I love this woman, but she's also my niece, and she's also my mother of my children and my queen, but and Rhaenys says it the best later in this episode, we'll get to it, but God, that scene is so goddamn good. I just had to play it. But man, Rhaenyra and Matt Smith, I've never wanted to see two people that might not be deserving of it, but I've never wanted to see two people on the Iron Throne so bad in my life. I'm like, I don't care if it's Daemon or Rhaenyra or their kids, like, and it's after them. I don't care. They're so good. Like, I love Team Black. I'm Team Black all the way. I couldn't imagine being Team Green. I mean, maybe Aemond. I do love Aemond One Eye. He's a great character too, and he's got Vagar, so like he's cool. But I love these two. These two are beautiful, and I love them. She's so right, and she lies right through Daemon lies right to her face, and she's like, "You've weakened me. I can't trust you." And like, they really have it all out in this big conversation. You struck down a child. He's like, "It was a mistake." And she sits down and goes, "You're pathetic." And Daemon storms out, and you're like, ooh, Daemon, it's a mistake is not a very good excuse for what you've just done, right? Like, you should have took some type of ownership. Instead, he's like, I can't be responsible for what these dudes did. Did you say son for son? Like, we really don't get told that information. Did he say it? Because he doesn't admit to it. But I want to say Daemon told him son for a son, you know? And the guy followed his orders, did what he could. Baela, though, sees Daemon storm out, and that's her father, and he just kind of storms out and doesn't say anything to her, but she got, requested by the queen, and the queen's now emotional from this having it out that she just did, and Baela comes in and she's told to take Moon Dancer and go watch King's Landing, and she asks Daemon about her father's Daemon, and she kind of Rhaenyra goes, he must follow his own path, and then we get to see Daemon take off on Caraxes, and that dragon's so cool looking, and it's so much like Daemon. But Daemon, on the other hand, takes off on this dragon, and he's wearing his full, like, Balerion the Black Dread armor, where he's supposed to look the most intimidating. And we don't see where he goes, but we know he's heading towards Harrenhal. So I think episode 3 will be Daemon just straight up torching Harrenhal and taking it for the Blacks. And that's going to be a huge pivoting point or battle for the Green versus Blacks battle throughout the show. It's going to be a big moment. So Daemon takes off. Then we cut back to King's Landing, and Aegon passes his wife and sister Helena in the hallway. They still really haven't had a conversation or talked since Jaehaerys' passing, and I think Aegon was actually coming back from just beating Blood to death, so I don't know if it was a good moment for him to talk, but he kind of just looks at her and puts his head down and keeps walking, and she walks up the stairs. We cut to Rhaenyra back on Dragonstone, and her two youngest boys, both white of hair, both sons that she's now had with Daemon Targaryen, right, her uncle, but also her husband now, right? So two more male heirs that she could have under her, right? So if the two strong boys die, like Luke already did, so if Jace dies, Jace is technically, what, the heir to the throne right now, right? So if he dies, then it's one of these two boys. So they have some Targaryen lineage in there that's not bastard strong blood. So, and then we cut back to Alicent about to take a bath, and she asks Sir Criston Cole, guarding her door, if he's told anyone. He turns and goes, "What do you take me for?" And she kind of just shuts the door and like goes and bathes herself, and he's kind of upset that he doesn't get the invite, but she like kind of does that thing that all women do in bathtub scenes in movies or shows. She gets in the bathtub and then like goes completely underwater, and you see that shot of her from above where she's like completely submerged, either trying to kill herself or like just finally having a moment of quiet and peace, you know, because so much has been going on for poor Queen Alicent. Don't say that. Don't say that, Cam. Alicent's not innocent. Fuck Alicent. She's Team Green. Fuck her. No, see, I almost got attached for a second. No, fuck Olivia Cook. Fuck Alicent. Gotta keep that mindset. Team Black. Team Black. Ugh. Fuck. So, Sir Criston Cole, still kind of steaming from getting blown off, he goes to Sir Eric, one of the twins, the House Green twin, and he goes to him and starts accusing him and like, "Where were you when the king's son died? What were you doing? What were you up to? Where were you?" And finally Eric goes, "Where were you, Lord Commander?" And he just kind of, "I was nowhere. I wasn't fucking the queen. Fucking, what are you talking about? I was doing my duty." You know, like, fuck you, Sir Criston. You're over there fucking Alicent, and you should have been guarding poor Helena's door. And you blame Sir Eric, and Sir Eric, he goes, "You can," you know, so Criston Cole's to send Sir Eric and, you know, hide himself as his twin brother and go kill Rhaenyra. So, like, that's pretty much what this whole episode's about. But we cut to Baela and Jace getting a second to talk, and they've been betrothed? They're to be wed. Betrothed? I don't know if that's the right word, but they're, you know, set to have been married for a long time. So now you kind of see that they actually kind of have a relationship together, as well as also being cousins. But I think they're kind of cute together, and I actually kind of like Jace and Baela. Maybe it's because Baela's black, and I dig me some black women. I don't know. Maybe it's a white hair. I don't know. She's a black Targaryen. I'm into her. She was shooting the hell out of that crossbow. I don't know. Baela, you're hot. I love you. She's also Team Black, so maybe that's it too. You know, I can actually enjoy her and not feel like I have to hate her because she's Team Green. But so she's shooting that crossbow pretty well, but her and Jace have a conversation. They talk about Harwin Strong and how he misses Luke, but this is what he says. She goes, "Sometimes I think I hate him. It's hard with fathers. They called him Breakbones," you know, talking about Sir Harwin Strong, Breakbones Strong. And he goes, "He loved us, I think." And she stops and goes, "Of course he did." And he goes, "I miss Luke." And she kind of just stands there and comforts him, mourns with him, you know. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cute to show, you know, more relationships and more characters in the show that aren't just Daemon and Rhaenyra and Viserys, right? Like, that was all mostly first season. But, you know, getting to know these sub-characters a little bit more is awesome. You know, I love that side of things. But then we cut to some women dancing naked, and Aemon is in a whorehouse, and he's laying down, he's got the eye out showing, and he's laying with this woman that we saw in one of the previous episodes in season 1, I believe, and she's like laying there with him, and she's like, "The boy has grown into a man," and he kind of like lays in her lap, and the actor playing Aemon is so skinny, like almost like snake-like skinny in this scene. It's like kind of gross. And he's talking to her, and he's like, he talks about how he regrets what happened with Lucerys and Vhagar killing him and shit. But you know, like as he's talking, I'm like, man, you're at a whorehouse. You're not supposed to be, you know, you're not supposed to be pillow talking like this. His pillow talk game sucked. It was awful. I was like, you didn't turn her on once. Maybe you already had done this, and this is post-coitus talk, but still, his pillow talk was awful. And then we cut to Hugh Hammer, another one of these characters that we're probably going to be cutting to throughout the season. He's clearly got some Targaryen blood in him with the white hair, but he is Hugh Hammer, and he's got a sick daughter and a wife here, and talking about how he hasn't got the money that Aegon had promised him yet. Obviously, Aegon's been doing some other things at the moment, but it's still cool to see, you know, a Hugh Hammer and, like, see characters that we, like, have been around and getting affected by what's happening, but not necessarily the main family, right? So Hugh Hammer, I'm guessing, is going to have a big point throughout this show. Also, some of the next characters we see, potentially Corlys Balerian's the Sea Snake, potentially Corlys's bastard sons, Alan and Adam. And we saw Alan a little bit last episode, but we see his brother Adam. Adam's the one with the hair. See, alliteration names get hard to say. Adam is the one with the hair. Alan is the one bald. And I believe they're Corlys's bastard sons, but if they were, wouldn't they both have white hair? I don't know. But apparently they might have a big thing to do in this upcoming show and season, so keep an eye out on those guys. Then we cut to Corlys and Rhaenys in bed, and clearly post-coitus, they're still getting it in. Love to see it for couples in their older age, you know, with 2 dead children, as far as they know. We do know as audience that Rhaenyra is still alive, but still, as far as they know, they have 2 dead children, a bunch of grandkids, but still, you know, like, they're very sad at this point. But she's talking about Daemon and what's going on with her and Rhaenyra, and she goes, Daemon won't overthrow her, but he also won't let her rule him either, right? So if he takes Harrenhal, all might be forgiven. So, you know, that's kind of the extent of the conversation with Rhaenys and Corlys, but, you know, it's a very, very good point. Daemon won't overthrow his love, Rhaenyra, but he doesn't want to be ruled by her either. So he's not necessarily, you know, he doesn't necessarily want to be king enough to, like, kill her, and he won't overthrow her, but he also won't follow what she says. So that's why even Rhaenyra's like, he's on his own path. He's going to be doing whatever he's doing. So Rhaenyra questions Mysaria. And Mysaria, this one threw me for a loop, because I was like, oh shit, Daemon was questioning her last episode, and he did kind of say, hey, the exchange of information for your freedom. And so she was still locked up. So she kind of has this conversation with Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra slowly goes, oh fuck, and like is looking at her and walking around her, and finally it kind of clicks and you see it in her face, and Mysaria goes, oh, you remember me, do you? And so this is a while ago, but this is Millie Alcock's Rhaenyra from season 1. Met her on Dragonstone when Daemon stole an egg out of Viserys' son's crib, and Mysaria was the one that Daemon said she was going to have his baby, but obviously Daemon has intimacy issues, so that didn't happen, but he said it, you know, and got the egg thrown back at Rhaenyra. So all these years later, you know, because this has to be 20 years something later, Rhaenyra looks at her and she's like, you remember me? And oh yeah, it was crazy. And then she goes, how did you get that scar? And she doesn't answer, and that's how the convo ends between Rhaenyra and Mysaria. And then we cut to Adam, one of the brothers, Corlys's bastard brothers, that we were just talking about. He's on the beach, and he kind of is searching for clams in the sand, and finds a crab, right? So that, I don't know if that's like the crab feeder type of vibe that he's given, but he also looks up and sees Sea Smoke, Laenor's dragon, flying above. So, and I believe it was Sea Smoke, I'm not positive, but he does see a dragon flying overhead. It's just a quick shot, but I was like, they didn't want to include that for no reason at all, right? That's where my mind went. And then we cut back to King's Landing, and a bunch of rat catchers have been hung. One of them including Cheese. And Cheese is hung, and the dog that he kicked last episode, that everyone on the internet was uproaring about, the dog's underneath him kind of all sad watching his owner or friend or whatever, the guy that kicked him, die. And I was like, dude, you should be cheering. You should be cheering over here. This guy kicked you. He was mean to you. But he's a cute boy. He's a good boy. But yeah, he was kind of like whimpering, looking at it. I was like, no, this guy was mean to you. Don't do that. And then Otto storms into Aegon's room, and he's like, you idiot. I can't believe you just killed all of them and hung them in front of the people, right? We just all this work having this parade, your mother and your wife, your sister, just did all this work to make it look like Rhaenyra's the bad people, and you just fucked it up again. Oh, and he's like, you're an idiot. And then Aegon goes, I wish to spill blood, not ink. And, and Otto's like really losing it. And he goes, Sir Criston Cole has a plan. He sent Sir Auric to kill Rhaenyra. And Otto goes, oh, God help us, right? Like, Otto's like, what the fuck? And then Otto's like, talking shit about him, and it's the three men in this chamber, right? And it's a great shot of Aegon and Criston Cole, and then Otto in the middle. And Rhys Ifans is so good as Otto Hightower, and he's just, his performance alone as an actor is phenomenal. And Otto is such a prick, but he really does play that Game of Thrones so well, and he's honestly so smart. Like, there's a reason why Otto's been the hand of the king for so long. Speaking of which, Aegon wants Otto's badge, right? Aegon goes, my father made me king, and Otto laughs in his face and goes, is that what you think? And he just goes to walk out, and it was bad. It was one more thing. He goes, is that what you think? You're king because of your daddy? No, you're king because I made you king, and your mother made you king. Like, you're an idiot. And he asks for his hand of the king badge, and he like goes, you insolent pup. And he goes, give it to Sir Criston Cole. And he kind of tosses it at his feet, and he goes, you will regret this. Cut back to Rhaenyra talking to Mysaria, lets her leave. And Mysaria, on her way out, sees the twin Eric, whatever, the other twin, walking in. She goes, I just saw Sir Eric in there, and you're Sir Eric walking in. Something doesn't add up here, so she kind of catches that for a minute, and she must have notified somebody, but you never see like if she does or who she does. But we see Sir Eric enter Dragonstone, posing as Sir Eric, and twin versus twin ends up in Rhaenyra's bedroom. We see shots of Rhaenyra. She's trying to get to sleep, and her like handmaid's like, do we need some milk of the poppy to calm you down or anything like that, love? And she's like, no, that might be good, yes. And she's just finally trying to sleep. She hasn't slept since her son died, probably. And, it's been a long couple weeks since her father died and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it's been all that much time since that last season ended. But yeah, so then we get, the brother walks in. She goes, Sir Eric. And he, like, pulls the sword, and it's like, that's not Sir Eric. And he, like, kind of charges Rhaenyra. And, then the other one comes running in, and then it's brother versus brother, twin versus twin, who's gonna win? And as soon as both of them are in the same room, and one's posing as the other, so then you're really just confused the whole time. You're like, wait, which one's which? Which one's which? Oh no, who's gonna win? We want one to win, we don't want the other, but they both look exactly the same, so you can't tell who's who. And then one of the brothers wins. And he's like, about to choke him out or kill him, and he's like, we were brothers, you split us up. And he stabs him through the chest and kills his brother. And you see the shot of him over his shoulder. He's so sad that he had to kill his brother to fight for the queen. And as he kills his brother, he stands up, and Rhaenyra's like, Sir Eric? Like, are you the right one? I'm really not sure. And then he goes, I'm sorry, my queen. And then kills himself, falls on his own sword. So now you got two dead twins in the same room, right? So as far as losses or wins from Team Green, Team Black, last episode, Team Green lost Jaehaerys. This episode, Team Green lost Sir Eric, and Team Black lost Sir Eric. Both really said the same, but one's with an A and one's with an E. So both twins are off the board now, 1-1. They kind of even out there, but Team Blacks is still up one baby head to the others, right? So they're still pissed over in the greenhouse, but it is what it is. Two boys died. The two twins died. They kill each other, and you really don't know who killed who, but you know that they're both dead at the end of it, so it really doesn't matter. And then we cut back to Otto bitching at Alicent about her son and what happened there, and he's like, I have to go to Old Town, your son Daeron, right? So the first time we get to hear mention of her other son, Daeron, that also has a dragon, and he's, I think, studying to be a maester in Old Town at the Citadel. And so first time we hear of him, and he goes, in Old Town, he may be useful. And she goes, why don't you go to Highgarden and talk to the Martells? You're probably better off there. And then she says to her father, I have sinned. And he goes, I do not want to hear it. And, you know, and he's had a long day. He doesn't need to pile on more of my daughter's sins onto this. So she kind of leaves him be, and Otto's left to sit there, and we don't know where he's going to go. So that we'll pick up with him next episode. Alicent then is in her room and looks over, and Kristen Cole's sitting there like, hey, are we still good here? Or you want me in the other bed? And she walks up and slaps him, then slaps him again, then pushes him, then slaps him a third time, and pushes him again, pushes him into the wall, and then he kind of turns her around and faces her towards the wall, and then they start kissing, and you're like, oh, so much for them not being a thing anymore. She's fallen for Sir Kristen Cole hard, and Sir Kristen Cole seems to really want to, you know, keep not doing his thing that he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be celibate as a Kingsguard, but Lord Commander, he doesn't give a fuck, and he breaks the rules all the time. He broke them for Rhaenyra, now he's breaking them for Alicent. It's fine. Those two start going at it, and that's the credits. That's an episode. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh my god. Shoutouts to Matt Smith and Emma Darcy as Rhaenyra and Daemon Targaryen. This episode was not like crazy eventful and crazy stuff happening, but just the dialogue and the conversations. It's so juicy. It's so good. It's like, oh, I love it. I love hearing and talking about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon. It's just, oh, so juicy. Such juicy little details, and especially this episode, we're getting to know more of the side characters and what's going around King's Landing, you know. So, and also Dragonstone. I'm starting to really picture and visualize the maps. So where these people are, what they need to conquer, you know, like. It's really all coming together for me, and I'm really been enjoying talking about this show. So if you guys want to talk House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones, comment below. You can message me on my other social medias, link in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. You can follow me on Letterboxd, see my movie reviews. More movie reviews will be coming out this week. We're also been talking about the Star Wars The Acolyte, breakdown for that coming out Wednesday. So stay tuned for that, y'all. And please like, comment, subscribe this video. Talk to me. What team are you on, green or blacks? Who's your favorite character? I would love to hear all these things in the comment section below, and I would love to talk House of the Dragon more with y'all. But I will see you beautiful people in episode 3. We'll be talking about it next week, and I will see you guys then. Peace.